Now we have the box office top 10 in time-honored tradition. So this is on my script. I'm reading this, and maybe you're able to help me. So these, I believe, a film that's outside the top 10.
Yes.
And in fact, it's at number 3 pi plus 2 pi plus square root of 2. The Legend of... Now, is this Ochi?
Ochi.
Ochi. And this is from Jason White and Barnsley. Dear sirs, last Sunday we went to see The Legend of Ochi. It was a 12A, and as I had a 10 and 8-year-old in tow, I quickly checked the guidance. We decided to risk it, and A24 labels pretty much guarantees you an original film and unique film experience at least. We got an amazing film with gorgeous cinematography, fantastic cast, especially Helena Zengel, brilliantly original score, especially for something that was likely to attract kids.
Yep.
Puppetry and practical effects to die for, and a story that felt like E.T. as directed by Ken Loach, specifically Kes, with even a bit of gentle body horror thrown in. My daughter, who is usually easily scared, was enthralled throughout.
Good.
And understood the story, while my old son said it was his third best film this year. As a family, we're suckers for puppets, but this film was magic, if albeit sometimes a bit grim, a lovely surprise. Also, shout out to my own local Parkway Cinema, one of the only cinemas outside of London to still be doing regular screenings of 70 and 35mm films, and where all new releases, and get this, are £5 a seat.
Wow.
I mean,
that's fantastic.
I mean, it's worth travelling up to Barnsley for that.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Very impressive.
You know, that reminds me of one of the most quotable lines in Dougal and the Blue Cat is when they arrive on the moon, Buxton gets out of the spaceship and he says, "I claim this moon for me." And then he goes, "Oh, what a place. It's worse than Barnsley."
He obviously didn't know about the Parkway Cinema. £5 for a 70 or 35mm film. This is from Tim and Amber, hosts of This American Wife podcast. Aberystwyth. Dear Ochi and Itchy, we recently sat down to watch The Legend of Ochi, lured in by its sumptuous visuals and the promise of a bold fantasy adventure in the vein of 70s and 80s greats. We kept waiting for the adventure to start, the pulse to quicken, the plot to show up and introduce itself. Instead, the film seemed content to gaze at the beautiful artistry of all involved, while occasionally hinting at a more captivating love it never commits to. The Legend of Ochi is undeniably beautiful, but we were hoping for adventure, not an ambient screensaver. Ouch. A film can be slow and meditative, but it still has to move. Still, we're grateful to live in a world where modest, budgeted fantasy films like this get made at all, and the tactile skills and crafts are being used so they're not lost. We just wish we'd been given more reason to stay immersed in it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that those two emails sort of perfectly sum up my own feelings about the film, which were ambivalent. I think the puppetry is amazing, and I think that there are things in it that are great. I also felt, I mean, I understand the ambient thing. I was talking about the fact that at the beginning there's just a huge amount of pestilence. There's just a lot of mud and misery that makes sort of Monty Python and the Holy Grail look positively clean. But I'm encouraged to hear that younger viewers were finding it, except because that was the thing that I wasn't sure about. I just didn't know how younger viewers were going to react to it, because there is quite a lot of darkness in there. But so no, that's good. That's a kind of that's a perfect encapsulation of how I reacted to the film. So thank you for those emails.
Although when you say younger viewers, I mean, it's a 12A.
It is 12. So when I say younger viewers, I mean 12. I mean 12-year-olds. Right.
Jolly good. And this week at number x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0, Sauvages. Sauvages.
Yeah.
From Callum, South London.
Savages,
Dear
yeah.
Savages.
Savages.
And the Savages were us all along. I went to see Savages, or Sauvages, or as my brain insists on reading it, Sausages, last night at the Movie Go Film of the Week. I thought it was a lovely little film that really grew on me as it went on, really coming into its own once she starts to reconnect with her family, and made me tear up a little. The comparisons to My Life as a Courgette are inevitable. I was lucky enough to see this as part of the BFI's stop motion season last year, and don't think I've ever quite felt as kicked in the stomach by a film from the incredibly shocking opening onwards. Savages doesn't quite deliver in the same way, but perhaps just as the disadvantage of not being written by Celine. Now, is this Sciamma?
Well, I believe it's Sciamma.
Okay. Celine Sciamma.
Yes.
Who perhaps should just write everything from now on. Tinkety-tonk and up with original animations. P.S. Why is Claude Barras so against characters having a mother who survives the first 5 minutes of a film? 2 dead mothers in this one, and a whole orphanage's worth in M. La C, as no one's calling it. Now, on to the top 10. At number 10 this week. Now, this is going to be mildly controversial, in that we were told from the powers that be, the proper powers that be, that Jal Mera Putt 3 was at number 10. Jal Mera Putt 3 came out in 2021. Jal Mera Putt 4 is in cinemas at the moment. So I would posit that that's a typo.
Yes, it does say on that same chart that Jal Mera Putt 3 has been in the charts for 201 weeks.
It's like my way, isn't it? It's the my way of Punjabi films. Yeah. But Jal Mera Putt means, what would be the translation? Let's go.
Although,
let's go, son.
Look, it's possible maybe they reissued the third one to remind everyone before the fourth one. I don't know, because I haven't seen any of them, because none of them have been press screened. Have you seen any of this series, Sanj?
I haven't. I didn't even know they existed.
Well, there we go.
And now we're at number 4.
Yeah. Well, there we are.
So, I had a brief research into it, and it's an interesting thing. I will look it up. Punjabi films very rarely crack the top 10. It's mainly Hindi films and occasionally kind of South Indian films that will do that, but Punjabi films very rarely. But it's about a group of Punjabi workers living illegally in Birmingham and how they survive.
Okay.
That's there are 3 sequels to the original.
Well, I wish it had been press screened, because I would like to see that.
I will take a look at some point, and I'll text you in Punjabi.
Thank you.
At UK number 9, US number 9 is Smurfs. We've got something from Hugh Tiplady. Dear Papa Smurf and Gargamel, your musings on the new Smurfs film led me to the following recollection. As a child, my family had a friendship with another family in northeast France. This was in the days of having pen pals as a way for kids to get to know about other countries and cultures. Did you have a pen pal?
No.
No, neither did I. Did you ever write to someone and they just didn't write back?
No.
No. Okay, that's where we differ then. We spent several happy summer days at their house visiting the numerous local attractions the area had to offer. One particularly memorable trip was to the city of Metz, where, to our collective delight, we discovered that the family planned to take us to a theme park. And not just any old French theme park, I'll have you know. Yes, we had the honour and privilege of visiting Big Bang Schtroumpf, a.k.a. Big Bang Smurf. Yes, indeed, there was a theme park dedicated to the Smurfs. We spent several hours on the various rides and attractions that included a particular favourite, Gargamel's Castle, which was a large structure resembling the Smurf baddie's home, which shook, jerked and squirted water at you while you were strapped into the seats provided. So that just sounds like sort of interrogation.
Yes.
I also believe we met some life-size Smurfs, in costume, of course. Or was that a bad dream after eating too much brie and camembert with the lovely French family who hosted us? A quick internet search reassures me that the great theme park itself, near the French border with Germany, still exists. However, the Smurfs have long gone, and they've been replaced by something or someone called Wallygator. Tinkety-tonk and down with the Phantom Menace. Yours sincerely, Hugh Tiplady.
Well, that just sounds like hugely more fun than the movie, which on its 3rd week is dropping like a stone, so it won't be troubling us next week.
At UK number 8 this week, US number 7 is F1.
And may I just remind people I have a fab Brad Pitt anecdote that I will tell Sanjeev in take 2. So if you're not subscribing already, you need to do that now.
Subscribe right now.
Yes.
UK number 7, US, I think number 7 is, or is it? No, it's not on the US charts. Beg your pardon. UK number 7 is Sayara. This is a Hindi language film.
Musical romantic drama, again, not press screened, but now 3rd week in the chart. We did have an email about this before, so keep the emails coming in. And I say this every week. It's because they're not press screened, so we can't review them beforehand. So, if you've seen it, let us know.
UK number 6, a film that I have seen, actually, is Bring Her Back.
Oh, please tell me you loved it.
Well, let's have an email first, and then I shall Twitter on for a bit. This is from Cameron. Dear Mr. Fantastic and Mr. Terrific, I had the rather harrowing experience of watching Bring Her Back,
Excellent.
possibly the most intense film I've ever seen at the cinema.
Wow.
Whilst there is a lot of grotesque and supernatural horror to be had, it was the small amounts of gaslighting that really got under my skin.
Mm-hmm.
The child actors' performances were utterly believable, and the way the Philippou brothers used the central character's lack of sight to invoke terror in the audience, who could see one step ahead of the protagonists, and do nothing but watch helplessly as events unfolded, worked to great effect. The film got so intense that at one point during the film, I found myself having to leave the screening for a multifunctional comfort break.
Wow.
Sure, what multifunctional
Very good.
comfort break is? Is that like the Swiss Army knife of going to the toilet? On my return, I found that someone had ejected their food, onto the floor in the corridor of darkness before the screen room. It then dawned on me that I'd not noticed it on the way out, but I must have trodden in it. I'm unaware if this incident was a visceral reaction to the film or that said person had a few too many at the local pub before the screening, but I still wonder whether that person had rejoined the screen or just left of embarrassment. I had to let some of the ushers know that someone had vomited, which made it look like I was the one who'd done it, much like someone whose friend has issues at a sexual health clinic. Slightly strange analogy. I had to go home promptly to cleanse to eyes, soul, and souls after what was the most disturbing cinema experience I've ever had.
So,
thank you, Cameron.
Sanj, I need to know what you thought.
I mean, I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, good.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Oh, good, okay.
I mean, Sally Hawkins, I've worked with Sally, and I do think Sally is fantastic in everything she does. And one of the really interesting things about working with her is that off camera, she's lovely. She's very warm and comes across as quite fragile. She's kind of, it comes across as a little bit underconfident. If I said to her, that was such a great take, she'd go, was it? Oh, I'm not sure. And then you see her, be getting prepared for the scene, and the director shouts action, and honestly, you see a transformation. You see this completely committed, present person who walks out in front of the camera to do the scene. And the kids in this, I thought, were absolutely brilliant. I mean, I believed all of them. Yeah. It was kind of it wasn't scary. It was horrifying, and terrifying in exactly how Cameron described it. We can see one step ahead of, or half a step ahead of the kids' protagonists, and that is a terrifying place to be.
Yeah, I mean, it really profoundly affected me, and gave me the shivers in a way that I want horror cinema to do. And I know it's upsetting and all the rest of it, but it is, as you say, it's on the Stephen King scale. The lowest is gross out, above that is is horrifying, and above that is terrifying. And I think that it is that highest level of ooh, and I think Sally Hawkins is absolutely amazing in it. I think it's one of her best performances.
I think also, a lot of horror films will use grief as the kind of, motor for the film. But there's few that have stayed with me where it's been used as well as this.
Yeah, no, it's
coming from all directions.
Yes, it really is a film about grief. It really is a film about grief and a lot of other things, but grief is right at the heart of it. Yeah.
UK number 5, US number 4, Superman.
I enjoyed more than I thought I was going to, and it's colourful and upbeat, and I'm glad to see that it's done well.
UK number 4, US number 5, Jurassic World Rebirth.
Well, there's no other way of saying this because I keep saying it. Gareth Edwards makes the very best of a very, very poor script. And the more I think about the script, the more I think it's one of the most badly written films I've ever seen.
UK number 3, US number 2, The Bad Guys 2.
Yeah. The Bad Guys? It's that again. It's all right.
UK number 2, US number 3, The Naked Gun. This is from Daniel Switzer from Romsey.
Okay.
Hello, Mario and Luigi, long-time listener, first-time email, etc. As a fan of The Lonely Island and Akiva Schaffer's other work, notably Popstar and the criminally underrated Hot Rod, I was already confident that I would enjoy The Naked Gun and its sense of humour.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't quite sure how others who fond memories of the originals would take to this reboot, rehash, reimagining, but the rest of my party were heard belly laughing throughout the run of the film. Yeah. Liam and Pamela both played it wonderfully well. I think Mark is right in the sense that it's a different approach and a different style than the originals, where Nielsen played everything completely straight and never really acknowledged the gags. But for the modern audience, I think they've done well translating it all for more contemporary times. All in all, it surpassed any laugh test I could have set it, and the snowman sequence actually left me and my partner with tears in our eyes from laughter. That's man's laughter and woman's laughter too.
Very good.
I hope they follow up with more in the future. All the best. And one from Andy F., a brief one, which is, it's fine, had me chuckling throughout, a couple of out loud ones too. It was good to see an age-appropriate romance on screen as well.
Okay. And now Sanj. You see, because I know that the whole thing is Mark's got a tin ear for comedy, because I keep telling everybody that that's the case. I laughed once and then I stopped. That was at the very, very beginning, and then I didn't laugh for the rest of it. In the screening that I was in, there were some people who were laughing like hyenas and really enjoying themselves. But I just thought it was lame. What did you think?
I mean, Daniel makes a good point, which is kind of, we have memories of the original.
Yes.
Of seeing it when it came out, which means that was the context of the time it came out. And so now when you go to see it, it is a reboot, rehash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a reimagining so much. But the problem is that so many of the jokes that were in the original were done in this version, but not as well as they were done in the original. And one of the things that I did feel about it was, I did laugh a couple of times, was that these are basically a series of sketches, Airplane, Top Secret, all of the things that the Abraham Zucker team did were effectively sketches that are strung into, with a narrative of some kind. And the problem with that is if you then play those as sketch characters, I think for me it gets tiresome quite quickly because the characters are too big. Mm-hmm. So what I think, one of the ways, and this is what they did with all of those films that I mentioned, particularly in their early canon, were that you played it absolutely straight. And so in playing it straight, you're not spoon-feeding the audience. The jokes are there, there's stuff going on in the background, but as the audience, you find them more. And I think that was the difference. I think that these felt like sketch characters playing sketches, as opposed to investing in the story. And I think even with the Naked Gun films, there was, law of diminishing returns on those, because I think also with Leslie Nielsen, who was, absolutely phenomenal in Airplane, and then carried that kind of persona through, his films. But as those original Naked Gun films went on, he became bigger and he became more comical in the same way I think Peter Sellers and Clouseau, in the Pink Panther and The Shot in the Dark, it's a character. Yes. And by the time you get to Pink Panther Strikes Again, etc., he's a sketch character who's mangling the language and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a problem with this, was that, and also, the original Naked Gun films, as you kind of mentioned last week, were based on Police Squad, the TV series. And those were send-ups of those kind of 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s type Streets of San Francisco and, those kind of cop shows. FBI was one with Ephraim Zimbalist Jr.
That's right, yes.
And so, that it was sending up that. So even, Naked Gun looks slightly retro deliberately, whereas this was kind of, I'm not sure what it was parodying.
Nope.
It was parodying an earlier film that was parodying an earlier.
Precisely.
And that becomes.
So I have only one question I need to ask you. How many times did you laugh? And there we are. That's it. That's sigh. Thank you very much. And that is from Sanjeev Bhaskar, a man who, let's be honest, knows comedy.
Okay, so we have US number one, Fantastic Four, First Steps. And in brackets here, it just says FFFFS, which if I saw that on an email, I would be reading completely differently. This is from Gerard in Portsmouth. Dear Silver Surfer and Galacticus, Jack Kirby was a creative genius, but Spider-Man was not one of his many creations. That was noted weirdo Steve Ditko, I'm quoting, who only Stan Lee could ever work successfully with, and not for long. Steve had issues.
That's correcting.
Early days of Marvel.
Can I just say that that's correcting an email rather than anything that we said.
Oh, good. Early days of Marvel Comics would make for a cracking film. Think Bob Odenkirk would be a perfect Stan Lee. Love the show, Steve, and see you in the funny papers. And that's from Gerard. So Fantastic Four First Steps, which also I have
seen. Since you just mentioned Bob Odenkirk, hopefully on next week's show there will be an interview with Bob Odenkirk for Nobody 2. I really enjoyed Fantastic Four First Steps. I had gone in with fantastically low expectations, and I came out with a spring in my step, and I liked it, not least because I absolutely loved the design and I loved the way it looked. And so, I'm glad it's done well, and I'm glad it's kept the Naked Gun off the number 1 spot. I'm sorry if that sounds petty.
I enjoyed it. I like the design of it. I like that 60s retro thing, and I thought the chemistry within the Fantastic Four I thought was really nice. I kind of like that. I won't remember much about it in a couple of months.
No.
You know, it was a bit like that. But anyway, there you go.